What's going on there, folks? Good morning. Good afternoon to some out there. It is the Earthmaster here on this Tuesday, November 22nd, 2022. It's about 11:41 a.m. California time. And looking at some activity ramping up here off the coast of Baja California. Just earlier this morning, 6.2 earthquake coming in along the plate boundary, actually just shy of the plate boundary. Let me show you guys here on the map as we zoom in here to the Baja California area. Of course, you got the plate boundary right here that kind of goes through the Gulf of California. This earthquake striking just shy here of the plate boundary itself. There's a couple different fault systems that run through here. You can kind of see them listed up here on the map. Of course, USGS kind of cuts it off there at the border, but they do continue down. This area is called the San Diego Trough Fault Zone. Kind of extends further down here in this region, but I'm not 100% certain exactly which fault system this occurred on. But definitely away from the plate boundary. We are seeing a little bit of activity ramping up further north into towards the border area. 2.9 coming in. Now this is a little concerning because it has been awfully quiet here in the Southern California region recently, and with this activity localized here with that 6.2 and some further activity ramping up, might want to watch the Southern California area for some activity. Now I was looking at the charts up here, the graph there in Barrett, Southern California. Since that 6.2 struck this morning, we've been seeing a little bit of earthquake activity down here being picked up on this seismograph station. Now, some of it may be aftershock activity, and some may be localized earthquakes here to Southern California. Barrett, that's the name of the station up here, sits roughly within this zone right here of Southern California. Sometimes I'm able to get a connection to a Salton Sea station or some other stations around the San Andreas Fault, but it's somewhat limited, kind of hard to get to once in a while. The connection's just not there for whatever reason. So I always run the Barrett station for local seismic activity, and it's definitely showing something kicking up here, some very small quakes in the Southern California area. So this may be lighting up soon with some red dots, red circles here indicating some seismic activity. So we'll watch that throughout the day today. Of course, 6.2, a moderate quake, was felt up into portions of Southern California. Let me bring in the Did You Feel It map here. And a few reports being picked up into San Diego, all the way up to possibly up around Los Angeles, it looks like, from this 6.2. Just some light shaking reported at a distance. Local seismic activity, of course, going to be much stronger in the felt department here across the area. But it was definitely felt pretty broadly across the region. 10 kilometers depth, pretty shallow earthquake. And again, might want to be on guard here, Southern California, considering this activity ramping up here around the region, and maybe a little migration up here. We'll definitely watch that. Let's see what else. Let me check the EMSC model here real quick and see what we got for any aftershocks. I know there has to be some aftershocks going on following that 6.2. Hold on a second here. Looks like there's a little bit. Let me zoom in here a little bit and see if we can pick it up. Stand by for just a second. Looks like at least a 4.0. A little aftershock. I'm sure it's got to be a little bit more than that. 3 hours ago, this earthquake struck. Let me zoom in a little bit closer and see if we can pick this up a little bit more, see if there's any other activity kicking up. It doesn't look like it, but again, EMSC is somewhat limited as well when it comes to reporting some of these international quakes from them anyway. But for now, 6.2 and a 4.0 in that area. Also, real quick before we go on with the update, I know that there was a deep earthquake over here around Switzerland yesterday, right? You guys, if you watched my last update, it was like 750 kilometers deep. Well, that earthquake appeared roughly, oh, I don't know, maybe half an hour or so following the large earthquake in the Solomon Islands area yesterday. And now these seismic waves can travel not only at the surface levels, but through the earth and into deep layers as well. The seismic waves, that is. And for some reason, one of these stations over here around Switzerland picked up a seismic wave, probably from the 7-pointer, and thought it was a local deep earthquake underneath Switzerland, but they have since reviewed it and removed it. So that is what I call a false earthquake reading there. And a lot of times we see it on these larger earthquakes because these seismic waves travel great distances. And if they're not properly tuned, or maybe someone's not verifying the data, these local seismograph stations regionally here or in this area, it could be around the world, will detect that seismic wave as a local earthquake and then publish it, to the earthquake catalog. And yeah, I just thought it was strange. 750 kilometers deep for a 3-point, I think it was like a 3.4, 3.6. But anyway, that has been removed. There was no earthquake in Switzerland yesterday. If it was, it certainly wasn't 750 kilometers deep. That would just be almost impossible there for this region of the world. So yeah, I just figured I would jump on there and share that because it's a little strange earthquake, but we see them a lot. These false readings, they happen quite often following larger movement. Okay, speaking of the larger activity yesterday, what have we got so far for aftershock activity? Looks like a couple 4s and 5s overnight still. There's always chance of seeing another 6-pointer as far as the aftershock sequence goes. But the likelihood of something larger happening right now, specifically with this sequence of earthquakes, is kind of diminishing here. There's always a low period of, 12, 24 hours or so of a larger quake in the same region. That these could be foreshocks, but I don't think they are, looking at the aftershock sequence here. So either way, we'll keep an eye on it. Last earthquake was a 4.9, about 5 a.m. my time. But either way, quite a few aftershocks, I would say, following that movement. All right, what have we got here so far? A little bit of westward activity here following all the activity overnight and yesterday here. 5.1 in the Indonesia area, some deeper movement quakes around here. This area is just almost always active, always. There's been days where we only see a couple 2s and 3s in the area. Heck, it's been like that for a week too. But it's almost always seismically active when it comes to 5s and 6s. All right, up north here, we haven't really seen any further activity. Let's see. Except for down into the Izu Trench. Now that's a pretty shallow earthquake up here. 2.2 kilometers deep. Let me see if this has been reviewed or not. It has been reviewed. It's in a zone that normally sees deeper activity there into the Izu Trench. So a little odd quake. But it's that area right here that I think is kind of been built up here for some activity, some larger activity than what we're seeing right now. This whole section of the Pacific Plate boundary is a ticking time bomb. Something's got to pop here eventually. It's been awfully quiet in these zones with major adjustments here. Major, I'm talking major. Remember all the 7s here around Fiji and the 6s, and now the 7 over here, Solomon Islands. A whole bunch of activity, folks. These 2 zones right here. And also, got to remember the New Zealand area. Speaking of New Zealand, looks like we, at least along the Kermadec Trench area, seen a 4.9 and a 5.2 trying to work its way down here along the Kermadec Trench overnight. Nothing big. Let me check out the EMSC model. Let's see what we got here. These guys are showing, there's that 5.2 positioned over there. So that's a little odd. 04. These guys are actually showing maybe potentially a second. Or actually, they're both the same here. Not for sure why the EMSC puts two of them up there. But there's also some 3s and some 4s further around the North Island, New Zealand. Also down here, it looks like around the Alpine Fault. Is that around the Alpine Fault? Let me look here and see what we got. Just off of it, one of them looks pretty close there to the plate boundary of the Alpine Fault. We were just kind of chatting about that. A couple 3s there into the South Island, New Zealand area. Got to watch that zone, folks. Pretty, you got to remember these plates here. They move around, shuffle around like jigsaw puzzles, jigsaw pieces, I should say. And, adjustments need to be made along the New Zealand area, Mariana Trench, and the Coral-Kamchatka Trench. Got to happen eventually. South America region got some earthquake activity last night, but nothing showing up here so far this morning. Look at the USGS and EMSC model here. It does show some 3s and those 4s that were reported there by the USGS. 3.5 there coming in to the, looks like a portion of the Middle America Trench down there, southern portion. So low activity ramping up here, possibly off the coast of Guatemala area. We did see a 4.3 coming in yesterday in that zone, 76 kilometers deep. All right, let's see what else do we have here for the states. We'll start over here in the earthquake country of Alabama. A 2.0 near Hollins, Alabama, 13 kilometers deep here. Looks like up against these, looks like some mountain ranges up here, some hills. Horse Block Mountain. A couple different, you can actually see that. It's pretty well defined little feature. 13 kilometers deep right up against there. That's pretty cool. Nothing else going on across the eastern portion of the country. New Madrid zone did have a 1.8 yesterday. Oklahoma and Texas got one earthquake here in the Texas area, 2.7. 9 kilometers deep for that quake. Not a whole lot going on throughout the Intermountain West area. Into Washington, of course, we were watching that little swarm of activity up around Mount Rainier. Shows about 11 earthquakes or so on the map. Northeastern section of Mount Rainier. Let's go ahead and check out the local seismic station there. 80 epicenters of tremor, by the way, along the Cascadia yesterday. But we want to go to Mount Rainier, and we'll check out this seismograph station here and see what we have. Camp Sherman. Maybe. These guys have been a little slow. Okay, so what do we got here? Starting to see the those little smaller quakes pop up once again, and there's been quite a bit overnight and this morning time frame. This is just a standard technical glitch that always pops up around, I don't know, any given day. So that is not earthquake activity. These waves here, though, are from the 6.2 off the coast of the Baja California region. Notice these little squiggly lines there. That's the P wave, and some surface waves followed up. Now, earthquake activity localized here, definitely quite a bit of seismic activity, but not as large as these other ones that we're seeing there. 2.1 was the largest in that sequence of earthquakes yesterday at Mount Rainier. But as you notice here, there's still a lot of activity, and it's been ongoing like that for past few weeks. But these guys not reporting the extreme small ones. I think if we were, we'd be probably looking at 100 or so more, possibly on each day. So something going on there. I mean, we did check the seismographs, or the not seismograph stations here, but the GPS monitoring stations up there, and it's just not really showing too much because, well, this station here is offline since looks like 2014, 2015, so we can't really get a accurate reading here. Some of these other localized stations here up to date, but not really in an area where I want to look. There's no uptick as far as inflation goes at the Volcano. In fact, there's been gradual deflation here over the last 15 years or so. 2022 showing that same standard of that loop. Kind of goes up, then it goes down. That's how it works. That's how the GPS stations work around there, as far as the movement goes for the vertical displacement at Mount Rainier. This adjustment right here is an instrument adjustment, and they kind of they either adjust the antenna or they do something with the station itself where it makes that type of adjustment. Definitely not there at the Volcano. But the swarm, as far as the larger magnitudes go, have died off, and we're just left with all those little bitty microquakes now. So we'll continue to watch it. 2.0, Hubbard, Oregon, 20 kilometers deep for this one. Into Northern California, not a whole lot going on right now. That's our quiet zone. Even around the Bay Area, things pretty spotty and quiet. Long Valley Supervolcano is showing nothing. Ridgecrest area and the Garlock Fault Zone all pretty quiet as well. Extreme Southern California. This is the area, like I said, we've got to watch. I'm noticing some earthquakes there on the graph here, and these are localized, it looks like, to the area. So we'll watch that for some potential movement. Let's see what we got on the Big Island. Looks a little spotty right now. 14 earthquakes. Last one was 2.4 around the Pahala area about 8 o'clock this morning time frame. And that's about it. No major adjustments going on there currently on the Big Island. Alaska, compared to the last few days or so, things are mellowing out. Still some earthquakes around Denali and the Anchorage area, but no major swarms noted. No unusual activity. Along the Aleutian Trench here, outside the Fox Islands area, getting some movement along the subduction interface here. It's 4.6, pretty shallow. Of course, if you look here, we did have some deeper movement quakes prior to that, with some adjustment upstream around the locked area, or the subduction zone itself. This whole area actually builds strain, but further up towards the subduction zone, that's where that 4.6 struck, 10 kilometers deep. Let's see what else is there right now on the map here. One earthquake, Afghanistan, a 4.2 overnight, about 6 in the morning, 102 kilometers deep. And outside of the Malta area, looks like 4.6 coming in into the Mediterranean Sea. 10 kilometers deep for that quake. One earthquake yesterday. This one, of course, followed the 7-pointer that kicked off there in the Solomon Islands yesterday. This one only popped in just a few minutes following that large quake. 5.2 near the Azores. No further activity to note there throughout the day today. Let me check out the Earthquake 3D globe here and see what we have. Looks as though, let's see, you guys see that 4.2 into Mexico? Not listed here on the map. EMSC definitely showing that 4.2. See, a lot of these quakes here tell a story of regional pressure, and when you leave out a couple of these important earthquakes, it kind of you really can't connect the dots as to where the pressure is building up. But there was definitely a 4.2, it looks like, in the Mexico area, 5 kilometers deep. Source parameters provided by the Mexico City sources there, so looks like this may be a legit earthquake according to these guys, but USGS not listing that, even though it's above 4.0, so I'm kind of find that a little odd. But overall, seismic activity definitely seems to be hitting this region of the plate boundary today, so we'll watch that. One earthquake onto the this one's just coming in actually onto the just south of the Garlock Fault shear zone, south of Mojave, 1.4 at 0.2 kilometers deep. So just be on guard out here, Southern Cal. Looks like activity kind of pointing towards this region today. Let's see what else we got for Yellowstone National Park. Let me, well, that's not Yellowstone. Let me go over here to the map here real quick. See what we have for seismic data. The other station is still offline far as the overviews go. And there is, check out, that is a beautiful wave here. Beautiful seismic wave from the 6.2 kicked off the Baja California area this morning, showing up on the Yellowstone graph. And this activity up here is from, that was from yesterday's events, right? Yeah, that was yesterday's events there. But as far as localized activity, looks pretty minimal. Only a couple small spikes there at Yellowstone, so it's kind of a little quiet zone for now. All right, solar weather activity. Let's jump into that real quick. Just seen a C flare pop off. Oh, within the last half an hour, a C 4.8 from a sunspot. Let's see which one it was coming from here. Hello. There we go. Kind of hard to tell on this map. This possibly could be from this guy right here. This is one of the sunspots we're watching for some little bit of development there in the structure of their field, the magnetic field. And let me see what we got. 3147 looks as though, yeah, maybe not. This is the one I was pointing at. But if you look at the difference here between this image, right, 3151 looks like nothing. It looks pretty well decayed. And I believe this was taken, even though it says updated November 22nd, this is an older image compared to our most recent image, where this thing has dynamically and quickly grown into a little bit more complex system here. This one here, not so much. This one here is kind of taking on a little bit more complex magnetic structure as well. But I think these two sunspots are our ones to watch for now. That's going to be 3151 and 3149. Overall threat looks like 55% chance for a C flare, 15% for M flare. And it looks like these guys are catching on to 3149 as well. It does harbor a beta delta magnetic class. So it is gaining a little bit of complex magnetic fields. 3149, this one up here, looking a little bit more dynamic today. So we'll keep these sunspots in check here as they are in Earth position. Anything that does pop off, whether it's a large flare or subsequent CME, will definitely be Earth directed. This one here has grown pretty rapidly, so we'll watch that one. Let's see what else we got here. The 3-day looks pretty green across the board right now. No major expected solar weather events. And real-time solar wind looks pretty calm, pretty neutral across the board. Everything's low, about as low as you can go here. Everything's pretty stable with the BT-BZ component here of the interplanetary magnetic field. Everything looks pretty cool for now. All right, folks, have a good day. Stay safe out there, and again, watch the West Coast here, Southern California area. That's kind of lighting up pretty good. I'm going to drop these earthquakes just a little bit for the 24-hour threshold. I did have it keyed up a little bit past that, but that should be about the last 24 hours of quakes on the globe. Let me bring this back down so you guys can see. But we'll definitely be standing by. If anything does pop off, we'll report back on it. Have a good day, folks. Catch you guys a little bit later. Peace out.